welcome to a brief, we'll call it a brief shoe review. It probably won't be too brief because I tend to talk a lot. However, this is a shoe review on the brand new Saucony Endorphin Pro. There's probably been about 5,000 different reviews on YouTube. I don't really care. This is my review, okay? So starting off, this right here is the Endorphin Pro. It weighs 7.5 pounds in a men's 9. So that's sort of what you're looking at. It's got an 8mm drop on it, heel to toe. And then, so it's a really strange shoe. This is a strange shoe, but it's an exciting shoe because it's touting the technology, the carbon plate technology that Nike has made so famous with their Vaporfly 4%. So a lot of shoe companies are starting to get into this type of technology. You're probably considered a little behind the ball if you aren't getting into it. It's been sort of a taboo type of technology because of the responsiveness that the carbon plate gives to the runner. And I mean, what's interesting about this is that it's got a very rocking, it sort of propels you forward, it rocks you forward without you even trying. What's really interesting about this shoe is that it's sort of, even if you're just walking in the shoe. I remember walking up to, when I was actually sort of wear testing the shoe, I remember sort of walking up to the line to run a hard mile effort, that it really, just walking made you feel like you're gonna fall forward almost if you weren't, sort of getting used to the gait that the shoe sort of puts you in. The thing I will say is if you do plan on testing this shoe out or trying to race in it or do workouts in it, first off, it is definitely a race day shoe. Definitely light enough and definitely fast enough, if you will, to be a race day shoe. Now, what's really interesting, I actually was injured back in October and had to take a couple months off of training. And that's the first time I've actually had to do that for a long time, even through college. I've been very lucky and blessed to not have any issues with injuries. However, I had a very nasty issue with my ankle. It's totally fine now, but the funny thing is my bread and butter shoe used to be either the Mizuno Inspire, which is a pretty high stability shoe, and also the Brooks Adrenaline. Both shoes that I used to train in a lot in college and post-collegiate racing. And like I said, I mean, I'd put hundreds upon thousands of miles on those shoes. Not one pair, but just that style, that model. When I came back from my injury and started to ramp up my mileage again, the first couple runs in my Brooks Adrenalines, brand new pair of Brooks Adrenalines, that has, basically the normal large amount of posting for a over pronator. The interesting thing about this is that I couldn't, with this ankle injury that I had, I couldn't run in a high stability shoe anymore. I have a pretty high knowledge in, footwear tests, footwear and testing with running shoes and whatnot. I'm pretty good at getting an understanding of how shoes are supposed to feel, and I have no idea, but it doesn't allow my foot to naturally flow in, I guess, with the gait and everything. It's really hard to explain because I really can't explain. I've never had this happen before. But I can't wear the Adrenaline. I can't wear a high stability shoe anymore. So what I decided to do is go with the Saucony. I went with the Saucony Kinvara. I went with the Saucony Kinvara 10 actually. And the reason I used that was because I noticed that it was a lighter shoe, and I was actually starting to focus more on quality of mileage compared to volume of mileage because of my time schedule and coming out of a injury. I was trying to not do too much volume all at once, but I also was trying to stay fit, for racing coming up. Then of course COVID hit, but that's another story. Anyways, I actually had great luck in the Saucony Kinvara. Now, I bought a brand new pair of Saucony Kinvaras just recently. And it's funny because I typically purchase my running shoes from Big Peach Running Company in Marietta, Georgia. And the funny thing is I saw these online and they're super cheap and they were the 10s. And here's why I actually bought them. It's funny because these are actually their Turkey Trot. It says "Pardon Me," not the Incubus song, but it says "Pardon Me" on there on the side. All right. And if you look inside, it's full of turkeys. So the heel and the inside, it has turkeys on them. So sort of funny. Nonetheless, this is not about the Kinvara. This is about the Endorphin Pro, okay? I decided to give the Endorphin Pro basically my fullest attention because there are similarities to the Kinvara. It's about the same. Weight. The Kinvara is only is 7.8 ounces, where this is 7.5. You know, it's a neutral shoe as well. It's highly responsive in my opinion. And actually, when I used to have a sponsorship with Saucony, I used to actually run in the Mirage. I'm not sure if they make that shoe anymore, but the Mirage had a little bit of inherent stability it was meant to be like a tempo or speed workout shoe. I guess you could also race in it as well. But yeah, I didn't want to take any chances with trying to find something that had any posting because of this injury issue. So I went with the Kinvara, all right? So it is, like I said, this is a racing flat that is neutral. It doesn't look like a traditional racing flat, in my opinion, because of the amount of cushion through the midsole as well. And you can tell the heel's even built up quite a bit. I actually prefer a more responsive, firm feel when propelling myself forward on race day. But it's sort of interesting. You know, this is super light. The technology behind it, it's really interesting as well. The technology, so first off, it has the carbon, like an S-shaped carbon fiber plate that runs right through the midsole. Basically, like I said, it propels you forward. It rolls you forward. What's interesting is check out the flex on the Kinvara. Tons of flex, right? Check out the flex on this. I'm putting a lot of effort into this. I'm not super strong upper body. I always miss arms and chest day because I'm more of a runner. I probably should get on that. But the interesting thing is it's super, super rigid, okay? And that's that carbon plate technology responding. It's also super responsive with the cushioning. This level of cushioning, you know, just above the outsole it's really interesting. The bottom of it has some pretty good tread toward the front, not much toward the back. If you're a heel striker, I suppose. This is meant to accommodate the heel strikers, but it's meant to keep you more up on the forefoot. All right, sort of like what Newton's idea is of. You know, building up the posting, or not posting, but the front of the shoe on the bottom. You know, it's built up a little bit. But this one, you're noticing that they want you landing more midfoot to forefoot when you are trying to race or run fast. So the interesting thing about this is that it is very rigid. It rolls you forward. It definitely has this feeling of rolling you forward, which is pretty cool. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, I will admit that. But nonetheless, this is a incredible game changer. I hate using that word, but it really is. This is a game changer from Saucony. You know, they've put out some decent racing flats in the past, not awesome like some of the other brands. You know, Brooks has been always sort of my favorite go-to for racing flats, Mizuno as well. But this is an incredible shoe. This is easily an incredible shoe. It's part of a whole Endorphin line with carbon plate technology that Saucony has been marketing. Again, this is sort of what they look like right next to each other with the Saucony Kinvara as well. It's quite interesting. All right, it is quite interesting. I would suggest you get out and try it. It's probably hard to try. That the $200 price tag on these shoes is incredible. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take these out. I'm going to run a all-out 400 meters with the Saucony Kinvara, and we're going to compare the results of the 400 meters to the Endorphin Pro. Okay. Once we are finished with the 400 meters, we will go a little bit longer and test out running a harder paced mile at the same effort. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, if you run in the Endorphin Pro first, you're going to be tired from those efforts from the first time. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to run these at separate times of the day. I'm going to take adequate rest so I'm fresh, okay? And not only that, I'm going to run at the same effort as what my heart rate shows on my watch as well. So I'm pretty good at telling pace at this point. But what I'll do is I'll make sure that I have my heart rate monitor on and having it beep at a certain heart rate so that I do not go over, and so that I actually can keep the effort the same with both shoes. So this will be as biased as possible. The difficult thing I will say is that there obviously is the little bit of encouragement to try to run fast in a brand new racing flat with this technology. So that's sort of already mentally up there. However, I'll try to keep this as unbiased as possible when it comes to reporting back with the results. Okay, just got back from doing both the workouts. I ran in the Endorphin Pro this morning, and then I also ran in the Saucony Kinvara this evening. All right, so it's probably around 5 o'clock in the evening. This is going to be sort of quick talking about this, but I will be. I wanted to make sure that I get some dinner. I'm very hungry. So first off, I noticed the big difference between doing both tests is that when I ran my all-out mile, I noticed that it was super humid this morning. The temperatures were cool, which is nice. But then the big comparison, of course, was that it was about 93 or 94 degrees this afternoon when I went out to go do the test in the Kinvara. So those are things, I did the trail that I ran on. It was a greenway that is actually pretty shaded, and I ran on the same course, just so that you know. So that's as unbiased as I can make it. Nonetheless, I can actually give a solid amount of feedback. So with that being said, in the Kinvara, I was able to go out and run 64 seconds for my quarter mile, 64 seconds, so 104, okay? With the Endorphin Pro, I ran 60 flat, so 1 minute, all right? So 4-second difference, which I thought was pretty incredible. Pretty solid times, if I do say so myself. I'm not much of a sprinter, but I ran them hard. I ran them really hard, and that was the result. It's simple as that. So basically, I ran a quarter mile in 64 seconds in the Kinvara. Felt good, felt great. Brand new pair, and of course, a brand new pair of Endorphin Pros. Ran a 4-second improvement for the quarter mile, or 400 meters, if you want to call it that. So yeah, ended up being 60 seconds or a minute for the Endorphin Pro. Definitely gives you that rocking sensation. However, I knew that if I really wanted to give it more of a realistic test as far as for a distance runner would be using, had to do more than a quarter mile. Ended up running a mile. Ran a harder paced at a specific heart rate, I might add, in the Kinvara, and was able to run, I think, what was the Kinvara? I ended up running the mile in the Kinvara this morning in, what was it, I think it was 5:22. So I ran 5:22 in the Kinvara this morning, all right? And then with adequate rest, this evening, this is incredible in my opinion, with adequate rest in the Endorphin Pro, I was able to run 5:06. 5:06. Now, again, I will say that my feet were a little achy by that rolling motion a little bit. Not in a bad way, but I could just tell quite the difference, where it was sort of propelling me forward, whether I wanted to be propelled forward or not. But it was a good feeling because it gave you, it's almost like this confidence of going for it, if that makes sense, which is kind of a cool feeling. I'm 35 years old now. My best PR days are probably behind me when it comes to the shorter distances. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try. So With that being said, it sort of gives you that confidence that you need to go for it. And if you're running an all-out mile, or you're trying to run a race, or you're trying to run a hard workout, go for it. Actually try to go for it. This might be that mental boost to go for it, as well as maybe that little bit of technology boost as well. Doesn't mean I won't stop training in the Kinvara full time, but this is definitely a great workout racing flat shoe. I was very surprised. I'm used to a paper thin, a very paper thin bottom when it comes to a racing flat. I've run a lot in the Mizuno Ronin, and the Mizuno Hitagame is another one. In college, I ran a lot in the T3, the Brooks T3 racer. And I've raced a lot in the Endorphin Pro for Adidas. So with that being said, this is an incredible shoe, because it's definitely it's sort of throwing the rules out when it comes to what a racing flat will look like. And you guys can look up what the Vaporfly 4% look like. Skechers has put out a carbon plate shoe as well. You guys can look up what those specs are for those shoes. But nonetheless, I am incredibly happy with this purchase and with this technology. Hopefully when COVID ends and I get back out to doing some harder paced racing on the roads, this will probably be my go-to shoe. Can't imagine it being a go-to shoe on the trails necessarily, because I don't think you're going to get the same responsiveness on rocks, roots, and dirt. However, I guess that's to be determined in the future. Also, definitely going to stick more so with track spikes if I do any track racing. But this is an incredible shoe. Like I said, 522 in the Kinvara, and I dropped down to a 506. That's a good jump. And then, of course, the quarter mile, taking 4 seconds off to run 60 flat. If I could just been 1 second faster to be under 60, maybe that's what I need to try to do again with the Endorphin Pro, get under 60. Anyways, like I said, they were controlled efforts because they were at the same heart rate. I'd have to look at what my heart rate data showed. But I will say that I'm very happy with the results. I can't wait to continue to do workouts and get ready to race in these. But yeah, this is a incredible breakthrough in my opinion for Saucony. I'm gonna go grab a quick shower and get ready to eat some dinner. Thank you to Big Peach Running Company for educating me on this new technology. If you get a chance, they're a great running store. They're located in the Atlanta region, Metro Atlanta and Midtown. They can do shoe fits for you as well as give you advice. This is a worthwhile company to invest in because it is locally owned, and these people care about your progress as a runner, walker, or hiker. All right, so I do appreciate them telling me about these shoes, ordering them for me, putting them on hold. Thank you, Big Peach. But yeah, there we go. Endorphin Pro, baby. There it is. Carbon plate technology.